What's up, everybody? Welcome to some Revolt Zoo. Yeah, I've really enjoyed this deck. It's been a lot of fun playing it. It's really explosive, and it's 100% aggro on this one. It's a lot of fun. I'll kind of break down what the deck does here in a second, but one of the main reasons I wanted to highlight this deck was because some of the key cards in this deck, we're looking at Arid Mesa, Goblin Guide, Burning Tree Emissary, and the Gore Clan Rampager. They're all being printed in Modern Masters 17. So let's say you draft it at your local gaming store a couple times, you end up with a couple Goblin Guides, a few Burning Tree Emissaries. You need a deck to put them into. This would be a perfect deck to definitely put those into. And if you played Standard during Khans of Tarkir and you held onto your Windswept Heaths and your Wooded Foothills, you kind of throw this deck together for, not too bad. It's still a little pricey deck, but if you have the mana base, it's definitely a fun deck to throw together. But let's jump into it. So I'm going to start off with the 1-drops, and when we get to the 2-drops, I'll kind of explain what we're doing. But basically, what we're looking to do with this deck is we're looking to get down a turn 1 threat, and I'll cover those here in a second. And then turn 2, we have a bunch of Enter the Battlefield creatures that give us free mana. So we're looking at Hidden Herbalist, and we're also looking at Burning Tree Emissary. Burning Tree Emissary, it comes in the battlefield. We're going to add 2 red and green mana to our mana pool. And if we get Hidden Herbalist active, the Revolt active, then we're going to add that double green to our mana pool. And the one thing that we're looking to cap it off with is a Surge cost on a Reckless Bushwhacker. So it has Surge for 2, it has Haste whenever it enters the battlefield. Creatures you control, if the Surge cost was paid, creatures you control get +1 and gain Haste until end of turn. So basically we're looking to just kind of chain together a few Burning Tree Emissaries, some Hidden Herbalists, and then kind of top it off with a Reckless Bushwhacker. That's kind of what the deck's trying to do in a nutshell. I'm going to explain it a little bit more as we go through the deck and look at the 1-drops, but at the core, that's what we're looking to do. But at the 1-drop, we're running 4 Goblin Guides. Goblin Guide has Haste. Whenever it attacks, defending player reveals the top card of his or her library. It's a land card, put it in their hand. Solid turn 1 play. It has that Haste. We can get in for 2 damage, and then turn 2 we can kind of chain together. So hopefully some Burning Tree Emissaries. Running 4 of those. We're also running Curdape. We're running, I think, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We've got 5 fetchable lands out of this deck, and all of them are going to be a forest. So basically, Curdape is always going to get down as a 2/3. Just a solid value creature in here. We're also running Experiment 1. So if you always want a Goblin Guide on turn 1. It's good to get in for those 2 points of damage. But if you don't, Experiment 1 is a really fine one to get down. It has the Evolve ability, so whenever a creature comes in with power or toughness higher than what it is right there, we're going to be able to put a +1 counter on it. So let's say we go turn 1, Experiment 1, turn 2 we go Curdape, it's going to be a 2/3, it's going to evolve Experiment 1, and then maybe we have a Wild Nacatl. If depending on how we fetch, it'll come in as a 3/3. So that Experiment 1 will get that 3rd evolve trigger. So we'll have a 3/3 on turn 2, depending on how we sequence our creatures for the turn. But yeah, it's pretty good. Usually, the Experiment 1, you're usually going to cut those when you go to sideboarding because you'd rather have just like a Curdape or a Wild Nacatl down on turn 1, or if you need kind of put some more stuff in there. But nonetheless, still a solid card. Also, it costs 1. Easy way to enable Surge off the Reckless Bushwhacker. We're also running Narnum Renegade, a little Renegade Elf action. Pretty good card. It has Death Touch, and it also has Revolt. Excuse me, there we go. It has Death Touch, and it also has Revolt. So if we have Revolt enabled, it's going to enter the battlefield with a +1 counter on it. It's going to come in as a 2/3. That's good for evolve purposes with Experiment 1, but also let's say we're playing against Grixis and they have Gurmag Anglers or Tassigurs out there. Getting down a 1-drop body with Death Touch for 1, 2, or 2/3. Either way, it's going to have Death Touch, depending on what its power is. But it's definitely a good way to kind of stop some of their bigger creatures from swinging in, and just really low investment. And then if we can get a nice little bonus on it from either the Bushwhacker or the Tarka's Command, with just a little extra value. We're also running the last zoo creature, Wild Nacatl. She's a 1/1, but as long as you control mountains, she'll get +1/+1, and then as long as you control plains, she gets +1/+1. So basically, you're looking to probably crack fetch, Stomping Ground turn 1, she's going to be a 2/2. Go to turn 3, search up one of your plains, and then she's going to be a 3/3. Once again, keeping online with kind of you can get her down and evolve at Experiment 1. But that's the 1-drop. So this deck's mainly looking to, obviously you want Goblin Guide in your opening hand. That'd be great. Swing in for 2. And then turn 2, this is where the deck really kind of bust open. Let's start with the free mana creatures, or the free admission to the zoo. We have Hidden Herbalist. So once we get Revolt enabled, whenever it enters the battlefield, we're going to add 2 green mana to our mana pool. So basically, what we're looking to do is get these creatures, maybe have 2 or 3 of these in our hand, and then pay a Surged Reckless Bushwhacker to kind of give them all haste and give them +1. It's not that far-fetched that you can get down 3 free creatures and then pay the Surge cost cost on the Bushwhacker and be swinging in with anywhere from 10 to 12 points of damage on turn 2. So you can definitely kind of close it out with these free mana creatures. But basically, Hidden Herbalist, and we also have Burning Tree Emissary. So when it enters the battlefield, Burning Tree Emissary is important because it enters the battlefield. We don't have to have Revolt enabled, and we're going to have green and red added to our mana pool, which is going to be perfect for the surge cost on Reckless Bushwhacker, which is colorless and a red. So basically, if you're going to sequence anything, you always want to go Hidden Herbalist, and then always end with a Burning Tree Emissary. That way you can have that last green-red mana floating to cast a Reckless Bushwhacker. But these two creatures basically kind of hold the glue. They're the glue of the deck. They're going to give you the most explosive draws, and then that Reckless Bushwhacker is always nice to kind of be the little cherry on top. But simply just chaining two or three of these together on turn 2 with your your 1-drop for the turn can usually be enough to kind of close the game out. On to the next 2-drop, which is kind of like the glue for the deck. We have a Tarkus Command. 98% of the time, the modes that you're going to use on our Tarkus Command is going to be creatures you control get +1/+1 and deal 3 damage to target opponent. You're looking to put in as much damage between turns 1 and turn 3. And a Tarkus Command really helps you gain that edge because you're going to give that nice bonus to all your creatures and just go 3 to the face like a lightning bolt, which usually the 3 to the face is just enough to kind of close it out. You know, you're turning your Wild Nacatls into a 4/3 and then 3/4 body, so it's usually just enough to push it through. It does have the very important mode of your opponents can't gain life this turn. Let's say we're playing against Soul Sisters and they activate Martyr of Sands. You can use that target opponent can't gain life this turn and then deal 3 damage up top to kind of stop that life gain. Or if they have any sort of lifelinker out there, you know, it's just a very nice card for the deck. On to the 3-drop, we got Reckless Bushwhacker. Technically, I would put him in at the 2-drop because that's what we're looking to get his surge cost. But you can hard cast him for 3. But yeah, most of the time we're looking to get his surge cost down for 2. We're also running 2 copies of Simian Spirit Guide. This is going to allow us to have some pretty explosive turn 1 draws or turn 1 plays. Like you can go, you know, shock fetch, get down whatever, chain a couple free spells. And then you can do it with the Simian Spirit Guide and kind of really clean up. You can definitely go, you know, turn 1 creature, you go free mana creature, free mana creature, free mana creature. After you crack the fetch, exile Simian Spirit Guide to get it all rolling, and then ended up with the Reckless Bushwhacker swinging in for like 8 on turn 1, depending on how it breaks down. But definitely kind of gives it that nice little push on turn 1 and late game too. It's always nice to have a little extra free red mana out of your hand like that. We're also running Gore Clan Rampager, really good card. He has trample. He's a 4-drop 4/4, so in a pinch, if we have to get him down, like hard cast him, we can. But most of the time, we're going to be using his Blood Rush ability. His Blood Rush for green and red. Discard it. Target attacking creature gets +4/+4 until end of turn and gains trample. Most of the time, let's say we've dealt some really quick damage and they've kind of stabilized. You can get into the spots where it looks like you're just swinging in, just trying to get some sort of damage, and you can Blood Rush one of your creatures to be the final push, and that trample damage will help push that damage through. So really good card for the deck. You're almost always happy to see it either in your opening hand or top decking it. And as far as we're running like 37 creatures in here, 17 lands. I covered the Tarkus Command. We're also running lightning bolts in here. That's just, you know, another source of removal and a way for us to kind of deal 3 damage up top. It just seems like all the time you somehow get him down to 3 lives, so you're just waiting to draw on a Tarkus Command or a Lightning Bolt, and it'll definitely kind of close the game out for you. So we covered the 1-drops, 2-drops, the 3 mana, the Reckless Bushwhackers. I will suggest, so you're basically looking, with this deck, you're trying to close the game out between turns 1 and turn 3 as quick as you can. Let's say that your opponent stabilizes, or they get a Pyroclasm off, they get rid of a lot of your creatures. You almost want to just slowly limp out creatures. Maybe just, if you draw an Experiment 1, put it down, draw a Wild Nacatl, put it down, because what you can do is you can hold on to your Bushwhackers, maybe get into spots where you can fire a Lightning Bolt off, cast the Bushwhacker for its surge cost, and kind of have a nice little alpha swing. So you can kind of get into the spots where this deck doesn't want to go late game, but if it does go late game, you almost kind of want to hold back on your creatures. Chain to get, maybe save up a few Burning Tree Emissaries or a few Hidden Herbalists. That way you can kind of just make this one really nice alpha swing, or you have enough mana for a Blood Rush Gore Clan Rampager. So it's definitely not a late game deck, but if you do find yourself going to the late game, kind of like hold back your creatures. You know, obviously if they're getting out threats and you have to have blockers, go for it. But if you can get into spots where you can try to play to your outs, one of the best ways is to kind of just chain up a bunch of stuff or slowly deploy out threats where you can have this nice little alpha swing to push in. Onto the sideboard, we're running 2 copies of Path, just 1 mana removal, pretty solid. Forked Bolt, 2 of these. We're running Declaration and Stone. It's kind of a way for, I guess, our way to kind of deal with tokens or something like that. That way, you know, they're going to get those clue tokens, but hopefully we're going to be able to close the game out before they cash in those clue tokens. If we play against Dredge, we've got Rest in Peace. We've got Ancient Grudge with the flashback cost. We're running 3 Tarmogoyfs in the sideboard for those kind of grindier matches. Let's say we're playing against Jund or Abzan or something like that. We can take advantage of having a bigger Tarmogoyf, or at least trading on their Tarmogoyfs, or kind of putting them in a stalemate. And we're also running Gruul Charm. Great way to deal with tokens, and the mode of excuse me, creatures without flying can't block this turn. That is pretty good card. Pretty good card to have, and a good way to deal with tokens. We're also running Deflecting Palm. Most of the time, you find it that, let's say that you get in as much damage as you can. You got your opponent down to 4 or 5, and they're swinging in with a Tarmogoyf or a Tasigur. You can Deflecting Palm that damage back to them. Even that creature has lifelink. It's going to be damage from Deflecting Palm, not from them, so they're not going to gain that life, and you can kind of send it back over there. And yeah, it feels pretty good to get a Deflecting Palm in. It's always nice. We're also running Carry Zeb's Expertise. It has gain control of target creature or vehicle, untap it against haste. But mainly we have it in here because we're going to get that expertise where we can cast a converted mana cost 2 or less from our hand without paying its mana cost. So maybe we can gain control of their Tasigur, cast one of our Burning Tree Emissaries for free, and chain together some stuff and get a nice little surge cost over there. So pretty good card coming out of the sideboard. But as far as a sideboard for this Revolt Zoo deck goes, it's going to be completely open to your meta. You need to just basically kind of isolate what's going to help you in your current meta, just because this deck is doing so much between turns 1 and turn 3 that you're just hoping to draw one of your sideboard pieces. You're just running 17 lands. You're just really light on mana, so a lot of your answers are going to be dependent. Like, instead of running Rest in Peace, you could definitely run 2 or 3 copies of Grafdigger's Cage if you're running a lot of Dredge. So the sideboard's pretty open, and you can even almost do like a transformational sideboard where you kind of switch it over to a little bit more of a burn deck. But that might not work. But other than that, yeah, sideboard's always open on a deck like this. And if this is something that maybe you have most of the cards for and you're worried about buying into it, you buying into this deck, the next step for this deck would be a Naya burn deck. So buying into this deck's not that far-fetched, and that the next line of play that you go for would be a burn deck. It's not like you're buying into a blue-green polymorph deck that doesn't really have the cards translate to something else. This deck, the next step you would take would be a burn deck. So if this is something that you have a few of the cards for, you can kind of piece them together. Maybe you like the aggro style, or you kind of want to you like the burn, the lightning bolts, and the target commands a little bit better. You can kind of just back off some of the kind of the alpha swing and go more burn. Kind of put some Eidolon of the Revels in there and stuff like that. But that's the deck in a nutshell. I've got a few gameplay videos for you, and yeah, if you enjoyed the video, like and subscribe. Thanks, guys.